Good day everyone, my name is Stephanie Facelo, and in today's video, I'll be talking about the global city. But before we proceed to the main topic, I'll be showing you first the contents of the topic for today, or the flow of the topic. So first, what makes a city global? Next, some of the world's best known global cities. Next is the rules of cities in the global economies. And last is the advantages or the disadvantages or the pros and cons of living in the city. So, to start, let us proceed. It is often said that the world is turning into a global village. In reality, it is much more a global city. Today, more than half of the world's population lives in cities, although often under poor conditions, and many metropolises of the world and much more economically productive and significant with respect to the global networks than most of the world's states. So, now let us define what makes a city global. So, global city, according to law, it is a term that raises an understanding for the cognoscenti. So, he further says that a global city is a city that is well thought out to be an important mode or node in the world's economic system. Another is a global city has a wealth, power, and influence to other countries as well as host the largest capital markets. According to Bascock of 2002, a city that has wealthy multinational companies, good infrastructure, better economy, well-educated and diverse populations and powerful organization as well good political structure that are linked to the other parts of the world. So that what makes the city global. So next, let's proceed to the some of the world's best known global cities. So as you can see in the picture, that are some cities known as the global cities, including New York, London, Tokyo and Hong Kong, Paris, and Washington DC. So according to the 80 Kearney's Global Known Cities Index of 2017, New York outsmarted London as the world's best performing city, while the latter ranked second, followed by the Paris, Tokyo, and Hong Kong. Next, the city of San Francisco topped the Global Cities Outlook Index ahead of New York, Paris, London, and Boston respectively. And then the next one is the New York. It was ranked as the best city for businesses, activities, and human capital. And Paris topped as the best cities for information exchange, while London rated as the best city for cultural experiences. And last, the Washington DC, the best for political engagement. And Hong Kong also boasts as being a global leader in air freights, while Brussels boasts of being the best place to set up an embassy. So we know that these corresponding countries that are already known because these are the most well-known global cities, as this country provided global competitiveness for its citizens and companies. So next is the roles of cities in the global economies. First, according to Dr. Joan Klaus, former executive director of UN Habitat, which has monitored the progress of urbanization since 1978, the proportion has already reached more than 55% and is now heading for 60%. So this means that the UN predicts that it will grow to between 65 and 70% or over the next 20 years, are part of the demographic process that is fundamentally fundamentally changing the planet. And next, they bring economies of scale, develop markets, creative jobs, and encourage new economic activities to flourish. So, as the economies move from primary activities that help the economic distribution more meaningful. So, the role of cities in the global economy increases with each transition. And people, next is the people move to the cities because they're places where they can see opportunities for a better and more prosperous life. And lastly, the urbanization is a complex reality. It delivers wealth and prosperity, but at the same time, it has a cost. So, urbanization sometimes seems to be merged spontaneously. Often, it is in the form of sums, but it needs to be improved through form processes such as urban planning, urban design, rules, and regulation. So heading to the last topic, so the advantages and disadvantages in global city, or the pros and cons of living in the city. Moving to a new home can be exciting, especially if you move somewhere else that is very different from where you are currently living. But many people who have lived in or never live in a big city but have the desire eventually succumbs to allure of city life and find themselves living in a much more populated and concentrated area. So the following are the main pros and cons, or the advantages and disadvantages that you might consider or taking into action before you moving to live in such major cities. So first, the pros or the advantages of the living in the city. So first is meeting new people. So when we move to other places, we meet new people, new faces, which have had very different life and experience than ours, and can be refreshing and give new or give some perspective in the new life as they have in. And second is the activities. Most cities have actively high life, different types of food to try, shows of all types, and museums, landmarks, parks, festival, sports games, and many more that will make you engage in that certain areas. And the third one is public transportation. This public transportation system is in major cities is a good alternative to driving yourself and dealing with the traffic and parking situation. So that's the advantages. That's the one of the advantage of living in a city. And the fourth one is the big events. Events where you can watch without any hesitation to drive you for a long period of time. So number 6 is the free activities. So many activities are typically more expensive due to the higher overhead cost. But there is also many free things to do when they're planned well. Everything including such going to the park, window shopping, visiting museums during free time of their admission days, and enjoying the sights downtown are all free, and you can spend all day staying busy or free time with your loved ones. Next, number 7, higher salaries. So, despite the high cost of living in city, employers are usually willing to pay more. So, this is why many suburbanates commute to the city to get the high salary, higher pay, and still going to economically having costs. Number 8, more job opportunities. So we all know that some of the Filipinos are pursue to go abroad because there's a lot of more job opportunities there. So with companies ruling the city skyscrapers, it's pretty hard not to find a job. But although it may be tough to find one that pays your elevated rent cost, but a city full of companies is a city full of career opportunities. And number 9, lots of dining options. So from fast food chains to mom and pop restaurants, you're likely to find a cuisine of your liking within a mile or two. So we Filipinos like to go around cities, like to craving some foods or some dishes that are known in that certain areas. So that's it. Lots of dining options. And lastly, number 10, close proximity to airports. So living next to an international airport will also have more non-stop flights, so you can expect to arrive at your final destination. So that's one of the advantages when you are in the big city, because there are many airports that you can go and travel, where you can have that certain, or you can go in the certain place you want to go. So you already hear what are the advantages rather of living, or the pros of living in the city. So now let's proceed to the disadvantages, or here the cons of living in the city. So there are lots of disadvantages where we can living in the city, but this might be useful, or might taking you into action when you hear this disadvantages, or you might realize that yes, it's nice to live in a big city or in a major city, but then you still have to balance the area of where you are living. So people who routinely visit or work the big city know that they can be a hassle. So yes, it can hassle, because there's a lot of things we have to adjust when we are living in a big city. So it's either be more consuming time and traffic, yes, and may have other activities such like here in the Philippines. Traffic is one of the disadvantages as we go to the cities. So now the first disadvantages of living in a city is the high cost of living. High cost of living is the first disadvantages that people typically think of when considering to moving to a city. The next one is the noise. Noise out there, noise in the neighborhood, and noise even in the family. So downtown areas in some major cities like New York are loud and busy almost 24 hours a day. These cities have more people and more traffic that contributes to the noise, as well contains nearby airports with the loud places flying in and out. The third one is lack of space. It's not about space between relationship, but it's lack of space. So if you move, or if you want to move to the city, you must accept that you will be living in an apartment building with neighbors on the other side of your walls. So nakita nyo naman sa ibang bansa kung ano yung kalagayan ng ibang tao doon, comparably in other areas na dikit-dikit yung apartment. Siyempre, dikit-dikit yung apartment, and at the same time, it is crowded. It is crowded with many people. Also, one of it is your house or your apartment where you're living in is not that safety. And the fifth one is higher auto insurance premiums. So if you live in a city and absolutely must have a car, congested city living will lead to high risk of accidents. So this will then yield a higher insurance rate when living in a city compared to the suburbs. And last, number 6, higher crime rate. So yes, that's one also of the disadvantages when you are living in a big city. Some cities will have higher crime rates than other, but you can definitely count on these urban areas to be more dangerous than the small towns. So that would be all for today's discussion. Thank you and God bless everyone.